So it's not about dressing somebody, it's just about revealing what they wear.
Hi, Mayu, how are you?
Hello, hi Russell. I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Thank you for coming on the channel today.
Thank you for having me.
You're going to talk to us about set, costume design, and in the world of theatre and film. But before we get to that, introduce yourself to us. What do you do? What's your job? Tell us about you.
Hello, I'm MAYOU TRIKERIOTI, and I am a set and costume designer. I work in theatre, I work in film, I sometimes work in advertising, and yeah, that's it really.
How interesting, you work in advertising as well.
Sometimes, yeah, but as a creative director rather than a designer.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So do you do mostly theatre or film these days? What's the genre, just out of interest?
So theatre is my constant. It's like I always do theatre, and then film just comes up like little bursts of energy from time to time. So yeah, it's more like that. Theatre is my main constant work.
Okay, so first question is, when you first get a script, so let's say you've already been employed as the designer, when you first get a script, and I'm talking specifically for the theatre here, where does your designer nose take you first, just out of interest? Because I've never really worked with a set designer per se, and I'm interested to, do you go, oh, right, I know where to go now? Is there a way now that you've taught yourself, which is your shorthand, as it were?
I think I always go with, well, for once, I always go with a project. So there is no big blueprint, but the main bits that are maybe a blueprint to how I do it is the first thing, obviously, to read the script or the play. And I am stating the obvious, but it is something that takes me a lot of hours. That's why I'm actually saying it. It's not just reading. I need to have lots of uninterrupted time. It normally could take me 4 or 6 hours or 8 hours, or because lots of things go on in that first read, and you read it like the viewer would see it for the very first time without knowing it in my head. So it's super important for me. So that's the first thing. And then sometimes there are like images that crop in my head. Sometimes it's just me looking at loads and loads and loads of images and seeing what clicks, and distilling from books and the internet and more books. Sometimes I think that there are some relevant artists I need to look at because of what I just read. So I make lots of notes. And there's always, of course, the big three, which are the director, the space, and the budget, which really influence everything that I'm thinking of at the same time. So if the director has a direction to go with a play rather than leaving me carte blanche, the budget, it always sits in the back of the head. So you know what your wiggle room is. So you sort of navigate your ideas. And obviously the space, which is super important, especially if it's an immersive thing or if it's a site-specific thing, but for any circumstance, sight lines, everything like that is like I need to have all the information in my head, in a way, because one informs the other. Yeah. So, and I also believe in serendipity in a way. So once I have read it and all this process has started, I think the script just lies with me for like the whole period. So in a way, I think I filter the world and I sort of distill bits of it inadvertently. So some stuff become more significant, like a person that walks on the street and the color that they wear, or an image I just see in the newspaper, like really random things. So that's the serendipity bit that I really believe in. Or an alley I might have walked in and like something makes sense. architecturally. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of foraging for information, aren't you? Well, what you've described is very similar to me when I make original theatre. If I'm reading a script, I think for me anyway, I'm trying to understand the world that it's set in.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess your job is to represent it.
Yeah, so it's like my brain just inadvertently scans for the play or the film world within our world, but it's like completely going on in the back of my head. And sometimes these little light bulbs come up. Hopefully good light bulbs. So yeah.
Yeah. So you work in film as well. So what's the difference? Because your job is kind of the same, but it's not. So let's say you've kind of told us your theatre, route into making theatre sets. How does your job?
It's also film as well. Yeah.
So
it's the same routine. Yeah, it's the same. That like I think that little Snoopy dance is the same for both genres. So yeah.
Right.
But yeah, they're both two different jobs. 100% two different jobs. And it's really funny because when I left theatre school, because in film, I always loved watching movies. I loved the cinema. So I had that dilemma of like, oh, I really love movies, but I don't think I want to work in movies, but I love working in theatre and all that. And I remember I think it was 2000 or 2001, I went to a talk that was given by about the movie Caravaggio, and Christopher Hobbs was in the talk, and he's like an incredible production designer. And especially then, in my really, really wee 20s, I was really timid. I would never do such a thing. Whereas I actually went up to him at the end, and I went like excited drama student, going, and I really like, do you have any advice for like going into film? I trained in theatre design in the Bristol Vic Theatre School, and for some reason I think he was an alumni as well, but I'm not sure. And maybe I lie. And he looked at me and he said, just keep on doing theatre. Now, with my really innocent, inexperienced eyes, I thought he blew me off. So I felt so sad. I just head down. And I didn't realize until at least 7 or 8 years later how right he was, because I needed to be confident in doing one and to find what connects the two to do the other in a way. So I was given an opportunity to do a film quite early on, and I declined because I didn't feel confident in doing it. And then at some point I did, and I said yes. And that sort of snowballed in my little love for film as well.
Right.
But that advice was quite good advice. It was just like, I didn't understand it at the time at all.
That's interesting. It's almost like he's saying that theatre will feed into film. Do you think it will can it feed back the other way? If you're a designer,
definitely.
You can skip into theatre as well.
Yeah, I think so. And right now, I think like 20 years ago, the borders were really thin. And if you were doing theatre, you really need to just do theatre. If you were doing film, you just need to do film. I remember I was told I shouldn't even write in my CV that I had done lighting design before, because I'm a designer. Whereas now things are so fluid and one feeds into the other. So you can be doing lots of different things, and that's what makes us human. And I think the way that it's going now, especially, well, with the pandemic and all this live streaming of theatre, like knowledge of what things work on screen and how things work on screen, I think that's quite a really important aspect to have. So yeah, that's definitely one fits into the other.
Yeah, that's really key that you've said that. That's something I never thought of before. That actually
Mm,
you've got to translate for the stage and translate for the screen. And although they share the same space, they are actually very,
mm.
very different visual decisions, probably from the designer point of view.
Yeah, but
Okay, right.
if you can, sorry, yeah, no, I'm just saying that if you can process them both together, then that's quite
Yeah,
magic, I think.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
a good challenge. I haven't come across it, but it's a good challenge.
Yeah, it's fascinating for me who kind of works outside of the film trade that I see visual design. I go, okay, right, I know exactly what they've done there. And my gosh, that's a lot of hard work to get that in every single shot. But you know, it's really fascinating to me. So a bit of an ambiguous question here, but what's the best
Mm,
version of your job? Say, you know, what's the ideal experience for you? Now you can choose film or theatre; it's up to you. But is there ever any sort of
yeah.
ideal, like a run-up period before you even meet the director? You know, is it 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Who knows? Do you want 6 months before you show them the design? Give us your ideal situation for somebody who knows nothing about certain costume design.
There is no ideal situation. The money is never going to be enough no matter what the budget is.
Yeah,
So you're
that's
always going to like go higher and, you know, aim higher. And you're always going to beg for and steal, inverted commas. Um, but I don't know, there's no ideal because I love a challenge. So the constraints are always really good. What I spoke about, like the theatre space and the budget are constraints, but they're always beautiful constraints. It's all the parameters within, you're extremely free. So you've got like the script and the director and the, but I don't know, I find a really big sense of freedom with these constraints. Otherwise, it's anarchy. Not that that's a bad thing. But yeah, I really love a challenge and I really have lots of ideas. So I think I just love when things click together. Those moments of like going like, aha. I think that's the best bit. That
yeah,
you know that, okay, that's it. That is the thing that needs to happen for this character, for this play, for this scene, for something. And you go like, yeah, I know that. It's like you found your way into that world, as you said before yourself, and you go like, okay, I recognize that now. Yeah, yeah, that's how that person dresses. Of course, that makes perfect sense. So it's not about dressing somebody; it's just about revealing what they wear. I think, um, yeah,
yeah,
because um, I never source ideas and I never store ideas. So I never have like a drawer with ideas going, well, that's a great idea. Let's, you know, when the right show comes up, even if I have I don't know, visual idea out of the blue, I sort of like forget about it. I just think that it's going to come up and resurface when all these parameters are in the right place. Um, if it ever comes up again, it might never do. But yeah,
yeah. That makes
I
sense.
don't know if I answered
No,
that.
it does. It absolutely makes sense. You completely reminded me of my own practice, to be honest. Because I'll give you an example. The other day, I got a torch for a show I'm making, and I ordered this torch, and it arrived. And it wasn't the torch I expected, but what I ended up
Hmm.
doing was finding a way to make it work. And
Hmm.
that's the restriction you were talking about. I really believe in that. That sometimes you are boxed in. It's actually sometimes a little bit more interesting for you to go, actually, this has made something really interesting, curious, and individual, for sure, rather than, like you say, anarchy. We can, yeah, there's something in that, isn't there? Yeah, yeah. So I guess in some ways, it's the freedom to play, maybe.
Mm.
But yeah, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, okay. Last question then. So,
Mm.
if somebody is starting out in design course or looking to go into design costume set, are there any other skills you think that will be useful for them to maybe look at or absorb, or other professions to observe, or any sort of other things that you've learned over the years going, oh, actually, you know what? The fact I was interested in this has actually helped me later on.
Yes and no. I think people that work in theatre and film are like, their brains are full of something. We had this running joke when I was in as a drama student with my friends, that we have so many different weird bits of information in our heads, how to make weird things happen. And that's basically it. I mean, in theory, yes, amazing to study architecture or painting, or definitely theatre history. That was my thing. I really wanted. I knew I wanted to be a theatre designer, but I was looking into a drama course because I really wanted that theoretical grounding and that dramaturgy behind it, rather than just going through the arts venue. So I think that, to me, is like the most important one. But then, yeah, architecture, fashion, pattern cutting, sociology, everything just feeds into it. And then there is a whole world that you explore when you're actually doing the job that we all do. So I've explored things that I would never ever have seen, you know, like astrophysics and things like that. Like, but it's because of the nature of each play that you go into that world of different people, in the shoes of different people. So I've read astrophysics, for example, but I didn't study it, but I read it for a play.
Yeah.
So and also that sense of what I like sometimes is actually going into things that you don't particularly like and making them your own. So sometimes it's stuff that you might not really be into. I find them like the most interesting ones, because you need to find what clicks on that project for you, not on that project, on that theme.
It's the foraging thing again, isn't it? It's the I can't remember what animal it is. Is it the badger or the magpie or something? Isn't it the magpie? I think the magpie goes for the shiny object. You know, it's that
shiny objects.
Yeah, it's where what do you need now? Oh, I need that. I need that. I think one of the things from my side of the fence as a director, I think my movement and my dance helps me in my direction, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the understanding of that, and that wasn't something I expected would actually lean into my direction. But when I unpack it now as I get older, I'm like, actually, my movement and my dance from when I was younger is so useful still.
Yeah.
Direction, it comes back on you, I think.
No, absolutely. I mean, I remember in drama school, in Bristol, we had a specific day that we spent with a fight director, an incredible fight director, just because they want us to understand what it takes and what happens to costume if you've got a fight scene, and what's got to give, which is very similar to like if you've got a dance piece as well, and all that. So yeah, everything feeds into it. It's insane.
Yeah. Just a bonus question. Do you ever talk to the actor about their costume as well? Because obviously they're interpreting the character. Do you ever have that? Is there a partnership there, or is it, how does that work?
I really like talking to the actor about their costume, or hair or makeup or anything to do with their appearance. Definitely, or personal props. Sometimes some actors are quite peculiar with personal props, and they want to talk to you. That has happened to me, and that was beautiful. So yeah, I like it when it's the right person in the right project, and yeah, it's not always.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are you allowed to say, before you go, you're allowed to say what you've got coming up so we can keep an eye?
I don't know. I don't know, really.
You have to keep quiet for a little while.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I'll do is
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put your website on the bottom of this YouTube link, and then people can follow you there. Okay. All right.
just because like this post-pandemic world, I cannot say something because it might still not happen. So I'm just like, this is more my going like, oh, is everything going to happen this time around? So yeah.
We'll put your social media down there. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much,
Maya.
Russell.
Cheers.
Cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.